Have you ever wondered why the most painful memories cling so tightly to the mind, even long after time has passed? Sometimes the scars you cannot see are the heaviest chains of all. There are souls who wander this world not because they are lost on the outside, but because the darkness within them has never been illuminated. In the stillness of night, when every sound has dissolved into silence, that darkness stirs, reminding them of what they have buried deep inside. People often speak of enlightenment as a radiant light in the long night, yet few tell you that before the light can appear, the mind must walk through its darkest corridors. Buddhism offers no shortcuts. It guides you step by step, breath by breath, teaching you to face the wound without fear. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The strong are not those who have never suffered, but those who have transformed their suffering into strength." In this journey, hidden figures begin to emerge. They are repressed memories, unsaid words, nameless feelings of emptiness long ignored. They are not enemies, but abandoned parts of yourself, demanding to be heard. Do you feel as if you are standing before a mirror of your own soul, where everything you've avoided for so long now stares back at you with eyes you cannot escape? In Buddhism, this is known as ego projection, when the mind begins to reveal the masks it has worn for far too long. You see the anger you suppressed appear like a faint shadow. You recognize the fear of abandonment woven into every decision. And above all, you understand that none of these are destroyers, but rather traces of a past that has not yet healed. Imagine yourself sitting in a dark room. No windows, no exits, only a small candle in your hand. At first, its light flickers weakly, trembling. But slowly, it illuminates the corners of the room, revealing forgotten images, the times you failed, the moments you blamed yourself, the cruel words hurled at you like daggers. And you realize that to leave this room, you must face every one of them. This is where Buddhism becomes the compass. It does not erase the darkness, but teaches you how to move through it. As Epictetus once said, "We are not disturbed by what happens to us, but by how we perceive it." When you gaze upon that darkness with compassion, it begins to dissolve, making room for silence. And in that silence, you see clearly, darkness was never your enemy. It was always the path leading you back to yourself. Your heart softens, your breath steadies, and the invisible burdens begin to loosen. You see that the truth was never as terrifying as you imagined. It was only waiting for you to look at it with open eyes. And now, with the wisdom of Buddhism, you can finally glimpse the way out of your inner labyrinth. When the first faint light begins to shine into the deepest shadows, one often experiences a strange state, a mix of relief and disorientation. The truth is no longer hidden, yet it is far from comfortable. Within every lost soul lies an abandoned child, the archetype of early wounds left unhealed. That child does not scream, it simply stands there silently, its dim eyes filled with fear and yearning. Buddhist philosophy teaches that darkness is not something to be eradicated, but something to be embraced. Silence in meditation is not an escape from the world's noise, but an act of courage, a confrontation with the echoes from within. When you sit, close your eyes, and truly listen, those echoes grow clearer. Self-criticism, whispers of resentment, and the faint voice of doubt questioning your worth. They draw you into the territory where your ego once built towering walls to shield itself. Do you feel as though you're walking through a dim forest, each step crunching dry leaves beneath your feet, while hazy figures seem to watch you from a distance? These are not demons from the outer world. They are fragments of your own mind that you've long refused to face. We run from these shadows, seeking distraction in work, relationships, fleeting pleasures. But Buddhism reminds us, the more we run, the closer they follow. Only by stopping do we see they are harmless silhouettes, simply waiting to be acknowledged. Seneca once wrote, "True tranquility is not found by fleeing life, but by learning to face it." This is the essence of spiritual healing, not disappearing from the world, but learning to stand firm within it, even as storms rage around you. Buddhism calls this letting go, not apathy, but the act of loosening the ropes binding your mind for too long. Picture yourself sitting by a deep river. The water rushes past, carrying countless fallen leaves. Each leaf is a memory, an emotion suppressed. You watch them drift by, not clinging, not pushing them away. Slowly, you realize the truth. You are neither the river nor the leaves. You are the observer. In that moment, a vast stillness opens within you, like fog dissolving at sunrise. You see now that the ego is only a shell, created to shield that forgotten inner child. It labels things: success, failure, right, wrong. But beneath those labels lies a simple truth. You have always been enough, no matter how wildly the world spins. And as you begin to believe this, the darkness loses its grip. This is the power of Buddhism, not in mystical miracles, but in its profound simplicity, leading you back to your most unguarded, unfragmented self. And from here, facing the darkness is no longer a battle, but a journey toward reclaiming the light that was always within you. Deep within the soul, there are doors locked so long that even their owner forgets they exist. Each door holds a sealed memory, a moment the ego decided to hide so life could go on. But Buddhism does not tell us to lock these doors tighter. It teaches us to open them gently, as if releasing a spirit long imprisoned. In meditation, layers of the mind dissolve like thinning mist. The first visions that surface often weigh heavily: a lost face, unsaid words, anger never released. They appear vividly, as if time never passed. It is here many retreat, for staring into the darkness means touching shards of the psyche they worked so hard to bury. You may feel your heartbeat quicken as these memories rise. You may hear the whisper, "If you open this door, everything will collapse." Yet Buddhism reminds you that collapse is not the end. Sometimes destruction is simply the first step toward rebirth. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you respond that defines you." Through the lens of compassion that Buddhism offers, darkness becomes a teacher. It reveals wounds yearning for attention, corners of the heart long neglected. When you dare to look without judgment, those haunting images lose their sharpness. They are no longer lurking monsters, but weary children waiting to be embraced. Imagine standing before a massive mirror in an empty room. In its reflection are not only your present self, but every version you've ever been. The frightened child, the angry youth, the hardened adult. They all look at you as if pleading, "See us, accept us." You step closer, touch the glass, and watch as these images dissolve into you, falling seamlessly back into place like scattered fragments reuniting. This integration is the first step to liberation. It does not erase pain or conjure joy, but it teaches you that running is no longer necessary. You begin to see the ego for what it is, a defense mechanism, not your essence. Ego says, "You are not enough, you must become more." Buddhist wisdom whispers, "You have always been whole." A peculiar calm sweeps through you. It isn't ecstatic happiness, but something deeper, as though a great weight has lifted from your chest. You no longer need to prove nor to hide. Darkness is no longer an enemy, but part of the greater canvas, where light and shadow coexist, like night and day, inseparable but not opposed. In this moment, you taste what sages call inner peace, a state untouched by ego or obsession, nurtured only by pure awareness. This is the gift Buddhism offers those who dare to walk through their own shadows and return to themselves. Inner peace doesn't arrive like thunder. It seeps in slowly, like rain soaking into parched soil. It doesn't wipe away suffering instantly. Instead, it trickles through every crack, softening what time has hardened. For those long accustomed to darkness, its gentleness feels almost foreign. They reach for it cautiously, fearing it might vanish at any wrong move. Yet Buddhism is no illusion. Its strength lies in its quiet endurance, like sunlight gradually dissolving the night. In this stillness, you realize darkness never truly disappears. It lingers quietly, like deep earth beneath your feet. But instead of fighting it, you learn to let it be, no longer threatened by its presence. This is the art Buddhism teaches, coexisting with darkness without letting it define you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Understanding this through experience, you see how suffering persists not in reality, but in memory. Betrayal, loss, failure, these live only because your mind replays them. But with a shift in perception, they lose their claws. Picture yourself beneath a silent night of rain. The rhythmic sound on the roof feels like the heartbeat of the universe, steady, patient. In that sound, you sense unity. Pain no longer opposes peace. It is the path to it. Buddhism calls this non-self. When you dissolve into the present, no longer a separate being struggling against the world, but a seamless part of it. Here, an unexpected gentleness for yourself arises. Old mistakes become lessons. Broken bonds become teachers of impermanence. You understand nothing came to destroy you. It all came to guide you toward healing. Buddhism never promises to erase suffering. It shows suffering is inevitable, but unnecessary to prolong. Accepting this, you stop fighting the past or fearing the future. You root yourself in the present like a tree standing unmoved, its roots deep, even as storms howl. With each breath, you feel it clearer. Exhale, release an old weight. Inhale, draw in stillness. Breath after breath, this rhythm not only soothes but teaches. Healing has its own tempo. In this silence, you sense something infinite, a space unbound by time where you are no longer past or future, only presence itself. Darkness becomes the prelude to dawn, and dawn comes not from outside, but from the eternal light within, the Buddha nature, waiting patiently to be seen. As your Buddha nature stirs, the world subtly shifts, not because it has changed, but because your gaze has. Sounds that once irritated now pass unnoticed. Memories that once pierced your heart are faint scars, reminders of the road you've walked. Most of all, you no longer feel trapped inside your own life. Buddhism teaches impermanence, not to bring despair, but to remind you that suffering, like joy, is transient. Once you deeply grasp impermanence, what seemed eternal becomes lighter. Obsessions lose their grip because nothing endures forever, not even the shadows. This truth echoes under a starry sky. The stars above have burned for millions of years, but what you see is their ancient light, long delayed. Memories are the same, relics of a past long gone, yet still glowing faintly within you. Modern trauma therapy echoes this. Healing comes only by facing the memories that hurt. Viewed with compassion, you cease to be their victim and become their witness. Epictetus reminds, we are troubled not by events, but by our interpretations of them. Imagine a raging waterfall. For years you've been swept inside it, thrashing desperately. Now you step out, standing safely on its bank, watching the torrent roar. The waterfall still crashes down, but it no longer takes you with it. That is liberation, not because the world has changed, but because you are no longer bound to it. In meditation stillness, a vast emptiness replaces the old chaos. It is not a void to fear, but a canvas upon which all arises, thoughts, feelings, peace. Buddhism calls this emptiness, not nothingness, but freedom from attachment, where things are seen as they are, transient and unowned. And in this emptiness blooms compassion, first for yourself, then for others. Those who hurt you appear differently, not villains, but lost souls trapped in their own darkness. When you see this, resentment dissolves, replaced by understanding. We are all walking toward the same light, each in our own way. Here, letting go becomes effortless. It is not forced forgetting, but a natural loosening, like releasing a kite into the wind. You exhale, and the invisible chains drop. You stand amidst your shadows, unshaken, unmoved, like a mountain untouched by storms. In this profound stillness, your mind opens like a long-locked door. The light that floods in is not external. It is yours, dormant but unbroken, waiting all along. It does not blaze like noon sun. It glows softly, warmly, like dawn light creeping through a window after a sleepless night. You see now that this journey through darkness was never about destroying it, but rediscovering this inner radiance. Buddhism calls it pure awareness, seeing things exactly as they are, untouched by ego or memory. In this state, pain remains but no longer dominates. Those once haunting images are now faint ripples in water. Paradoxically, the less you resist, the wider and freer your inner space becomes, boundless as the sky itself. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." You see this vividly now. For years, your pain thrived, not from the present, but from old cycles replayed endlessly. Now, with the loop broken, you stand in the present, seeing the world clearly for the first time. This awareness breathes life into the ordinary. The morning air is crisp, birdsong feels vivid, even the sway of trees becomes mesmerizing. This is mindfulness, not mystical escape, but full presence in every fleeting moment. Darkness is no longer an adversary. Like night embracing dawn, it has simply played its part before yielding to light. You see past pain not as curses, but as silent mentors, shaping resilience, compassion, and self-worth. Without them, you would never have found the strength lying deep within. Buddhism doesn't merely lead you out of darkness, it turns darkness into the very path. Looking back, you realize it was those painful steps that brought you closer to liberation. Like a lotus blooming in the mud, beauty emerges not from avoidance, but from rising amidst what once buried you. And then comes the final surrender, soft, almost imperceptible. No more chains, no more whispers from shadowed corners. Only stillness, not empty but full, overflowing. You no longer seek, you simply are, whole, undivided, untouched. This is the destination, yet also a beginning, a life no longer governed by ego, obsession, or past wounds. Only you, your inner light, and an enduring peace nothing external can disturb. You inhale deeply, feel your body dissolve into the infinite, boundaries erased. On the exhale, you release it all. The last tether, the final shadow, dissolving into dawn. This is freedom, this is liberation.